When I was first diagnosed, albeit with a different GP, I was given a leaflet that just explained what diabetes was, and that just said eat a healthy diet, try and control it, have a bit of exercise, that type of thing. And that's all that I had, other than doing my own bit of research just on the internet and things and asking people who I know who are diabetic, but that was it. The Better Blood Sugars course consisted of 2 days, separated by a few weeks, but there were 2 days of just educational course really. I was invited to go along by my surgery. One of the nurses contacted me to invite me, and because I've been diabetic for about 7 years, just controlling with medication. Or trying to control with medication. At that time my HbA1c was 11.2, and I guess the next step would be moving on to insulin. In fact, my GP had said as much. So I was given this opportunity to go to Better Blood Sugars, and I thought, well, why not? I've got nothing to lose. Although at that point I did think that I knew pretty much everything there was to know about diabetes, because the internet's there. I know about diet, I know what's good, I know what's bad. So simple as that really. I guess the number one thing would be what effect food has on my blood sugars. So individual foods, overall, just looking at loads of different foods, the carbohydrates, the proteins. I already knew what happened to my blood sugars when I ate, I just didn't know what effect particular foods had on my bloods. Leading on from that course, I was able to look more and more into the foods that I ate, look at the exercise that I do, and resulting from that has obviously had an effect on my life now, so to the point of losing weight and gaining a better blood sugar control. Going on the Better Blood Sugars course, I can honestly say, has actually saved my life. I have been diabetic for about 7 years, as I said earlier. I'm 42 years of age, I'm married, I've got 2 young children. And I think one of the things following on from the course was that, hang on a minute, I've got these symptoms of sort of numb fingers, numb toes, diagnosed with background retinopathy, and all of these things, and I'm thinking, 42, kids growing up, I don't want to be blind when my children are older. I want to be able to play football with my son when he's 16 or 15, whatever. I don't want to lose my sight, I don't want to lose my limbs. I already know people who are diabetic who have lost their limbs. I didn't want that to happen. I thought I was being quite good because I'd go out for a little run, have a bit of exercise. I would eat what I thought was a healthy diet. So I'd start breakfast in the morning, would be a cereal with milk, fresh orange juice. Bit of a mixed diet during lunchtime because of the way that I work. I drive a lot, so I'd suddenly have to stop, have a sandwich, have some chocolate bars, have a can of Coke. I always had Diet Coke because even then I was thinking that sugar was not good. But and then in the evening I would just have a standard meal, and that could be potatoes, veg, meat and everything else. With the course, what I then learned was, hang on a minute, some of these foods actually, even though it might not be a sugary donut and cake, which I was still eating, but some of the foods I was eating which I thought would be healthy and are indeed healthy, but until that course I didn't know that they actually contain sugar or were converted into sugar. And it's only following that course and looking deeply into the foods that I ate that I thought, hang on a minute, if I reduce the amount of potatoes, reduce the amount of bread, the amount of pasta, things that I thought were all healthy, I reduce them to a sensible amount, what will that do on my blood sugars? When I first went on the course, on the first half day, my HbA1c just prior to that was 11.2. After the first course, after the first half day, I thought about things and I kept a food diary for the next half day course. But my blood sugars didn't really change much, and that's because honestly I didn't really do much after the first half day course. It's only after the second half day where I looked around at people who made improvements thinking, maybe I can do something. And so for the 3 months following that course, and I still continue, but certainly for the first 3 months, I stopped all my sugar as best I could. I did a bit more exercise and I controlled my diet using the information I'd gained during the course. And then in 3 months after that second day course, I had my HbA1c tested again. And so the first time it was 11.2, just prior to the course. 3 months after, it's now at 5.2 in those 3 months. And that's the change that having that knowledge made. When I first went along to that course, I was also being treated for high blood pressure. Now, my blood pressure wasn't particularly high, but I was on a couple of tablets. In fact, I think it was, if I remember rightly, it was getting worse just before this course. So I was on 2 tablets for the treatment of blood pressure. What I noticed in the 3 months following the course, when I was using what I'd learnt on the course to benefit my diet, my blood pressure, I was still taking the same tablets, but I was getting dizzy. So when I went for my diabetic review with the GP, they took my blood pressure, looked at the medicines, and have completely stopped that as well now. So not completely, initially they stopped one and then they stopped another, and I don't get any dizziness, and I've not got high blood pressure. The only medications I'm now on following this, for be it blood pressure, diabetes, I didn't have any medication for cholesterol, but I still maintain some metformin, just as a generic, sort of just to keep me, I don't know why, but it's sort of just like a lifestyle drug, I think they call it in a sense, but it's just a drug that has other benefits. So my GP recommended that I just stay on that, just for now anyway. One of the things that I liked about the blood sugars course was that it was a group session. So there's a number of people there, and they were completely different ages, from the younger to the much older, and people who've been type 2 diabetic for probably many years, much longer than me, but some who were probably more recently diagnosed. And it was great to have that group connection really, and that group interaction. It was nice to hear what other people were doing to improve things, and also to feel that you weren't alone in this. I wasn't just sent because I was an oddity or anything, but there's other people in exactly the same position, probably tens of thousands of people just in Derbyshire with exactly the same condition. But here's people wanting to take action and wanting to do something. And I think after the first half day, I had the knowledge, but didn't have the not willingness, I just didn't have the motivation to change. But then I started thinking and reading the booklets that I was given at the course, thinking about the information I was given, and just thinking, hang on a minute, if I don't do something, where's this going to lead? And I kept another food diary. My blood sugars were a bit better, but not brilliant, because I didn't make that many changes. But on the second course, the second half-day course, when I met the same people who were on the first course, the fact that they all came back was great. It shows that the course must be interesting and worthwhile. But some people had made big differences. And I thought, hang on a minute, maybe I can. And so after the second one, that's when I decided, this is it, I've got to do something. And I'm so glad I did. Everything on the blood sugars course I found useful. I kind of went into the blood sugars course thinking that I knew everything. Thinking I was well educated. I was well educated, but perhaps not on all the foods and things. Was there anything there that I thought wasn't particularly useful? In all honesty, no. I think even going over the basics of some of the real basic stuff that I knew from a much younger age, be it from school or whatever, I still found useful, because it just triggers sort of your knowledge, thinking, well, I thought I knew that, perhaps I don't. So I don't think there's anything I would really change from the course at all. The only thing I could really change is just to make it more available to more people. It's as simple as that. I guess what I have to ask is, would I recommend the course to anybody else? If the Better Blood Sugars course wasn't commissioned for any future more courses, I would be absolutely shocked. I really would. I'd be extremely disappointed as well. Not for myself, I've been on it, I've benefited, that's brilliant. As I said earlier, one of the things I've done, the course has done, is effectively saved my life, and I'm always be indebted for that and appreciative of the people who've helped me. But to think of that not going ahead now and not giving other people the same opportunity, it would just be disastrous. Because what's going to happen? If I hadn't gone on that course, what would have happened to me? Well, my background retinopathy would potentially lead to blindness, not seeing my kids grow up. Potentially the numbness in my toes and fingers, what does that lead to? Amputations? And all the other complications of diabetes that I wasn't aware of and were going on within my body, you know, that would have just got worse unless I'd decided myself to try and educate. But I've been 7 years wanting to do that and never really done it. So to think that the course wouldn't go ahead and other people couldn't benefit, I think that would be a disaster.